When two Russian field armies launched an attack in Avdiivka in October 2023, little did they know the ferocity of the resistance they would encounter. The chill of October was pierced by the thunderous roars of artillery fire as the Russian field armies descended on the Ukrainian garrison in Avdiivka. Their objective was clear, their resolve steadfast, but it was the Ukrainian spirit that would prove to be the biggest obstacle in their path. The Ukrainian 47th Brigade, a force to reckon with, stood their ground, fortified by a robust arsenal of American and German-made weaponry. At their disposal were the formidable M2 Bradley fighting vehicles and the German-made Leopard 2 tanks, machines of war that were about to be tested in the crucible of conflict. Russia's strategy was clear, a war of attrition meant to wear down the Ukrainian forces, but this strategy had its own pitfalls. Attrition warfare is an age-old tactic where the goal isn't just to win battles, but to gradually deplete the enemy's resources, manpower, and will to fight. It's like a boxing match that stretches into the late rounds, with each side trying to outlast the other, landing blow after blow, hoping to wear down their opponent until they can no longer continue. In the context of the battle for Avdiivka, Russia banked heavily on this strategy. With their superior resources and manpower, they believed they could outlast the Ukrainians, slowly grinding them down until resistance was futile. On paper, it seemed like a solid plan, but the reality of war is rarely so straightforward. The Ukrainian forces, though outnumbered, were not outmatched. Their defensive tactics started to pay dividends. With their backs against the wall, they turned to unconventional methods, employing a blend of precision, innovation, and sheer audacity. In the face of a larger adversary, the Ukrainians capitalized on their agility and the element of surprise. Drone boats, previously a sideshow in the theater of war, became an unlikely star. These unmanned vessels, small but deadly, targeted Russian naval assets, dealing significant blows. On the ground, the Ukrainian forces fought not just with guns and tanks, but with information. They waged a war of disruption, using special operations raids to shock and awe their adversaries. These raids, though small in scale, were high in impact. They struck at the heart of the Russian forces, causing disarray and confusion. Precision was the name of the game in the Ukrainian counter-offensive. Precision strikes, a symphony of coordination and timing, targeted key Russian assets. The S-400 air defense system, a symbol of Russian military might, was brought to its knees. Strategic locations like gas drilling platforms were reclaimed. This unconventional warfare inflicted heavy casualties on the Russian side. The Ukrainian forces, though fewer in number, proved that quality trumps quantity. Their tactics, rooted in ingenuity and resilience, turned the tide of the battle. Despite the mounting losses, the Russian forces pressed on, determined to claim Avdiivka. Their strategy of attrition, however, was starting to backfire. The war was not just about capturing territory, it was about survival, resilience, and the indomitable spirit of the Ukrainian forces. The final push came from the Russian forces testing the mettle of the Ukrainian defenses. After months of stalemate and attrition, the Russian military launched a massive offensive, a final push to break through the Ukrainian lines and take control of Avdiivka. This offensive was characterized by an intense artillery barrage, followed by a thrust of armored divisions aimed at overwhelming the Ukrainian positions. The Ukrainian forces, though outnumbered and outgunned, held their ground. They relied on their American-made M2 Bradley fighting vehicles and German-made Leopard 2 tanks, turning the tide against the Russian onslaught time and again. These machines of war, coupled with the tenacity of the Ukrainian soldiers, became the bulwark that withstood the Russian advance. The Ukrainian strategy of conducting smaller, more irregular attacks proved to be effective. They used drones for reconnaissance, precision strikes, and special operations raids to disrupt Russian supply lines and communication. This unconventional warfare kept the Russian forces off balance, stalling their advance and inflicting heavy casualties. Despite the relentless pressure, the Ukrainian forces managed to maintain their defensive positions throughout the final push. But the cost was high. The Ukrainian military faced significant challenges, including resource limitations and the sheer scale of the Russian offensive. The losses were heavy, and the scars of the battle were deeply etched on the landscape of Avdiivka. However, the Ukrainian forces did not capitulate. They fought bravely, using every resource at their disposal to hold off the Russian forces. Their resilience and determination were a testament to their resolve to defend their homeland. In the end, the Russian forces managed to claim Avdiivka. But the cost was high. The victory came at a heavy price, with significant loss of life and resources. The Battle of Avdiivka, with its high stakes and high costs, serves as a stark reminder of the harsh realities of war. The battle for Avdiivka was over, the city lay in Russian hands, but the victory was a Pyrrhic one. In the aftermath, the landscape of Avdiivka bore the scars of a protracted war of attrition. The Russian forces had indeed claimed the city, but the cost in terms of human lives and military resources was staggering. The Russian strategy of attrition, designed to wear down the Ukrainian forces, had backfired spectacularly. Ukraine's 47th Brigade, equipped with robust American-made M2 Bradley fighting vehicles and formidable German-made Leopard 2 tanks, had been a force to be reckoned with. Their defensive tactics and strategic operations had inflicted substantial casualties on the Russian forces. Despite the eventual loss of the city, the Ukrainian forces had managed to bleed the Russian army, sapping their strength and resources. The heavy losses suffered by the Russian forces in Avdiivka had a significant impact on their overall war strategy. The once seemingly invincible Russian military machine had shown its vulnerabilities. The high cost of the victory forced a re-evaluation of their approach, leading to a shift in tactics and strategy. Meanwhile, on the Ukrainian side, the battle had proven a testament to their resilience and resourcefulness. Despite resource limitations and the overwhelming might of the Russian forces, they had managed to put up a stiff resistance. Their use of irregular attacks, drones, special operations raids, and precision strikes had proven effective in inflicting significant damage on the Russian forces. In the grand scheme of the conflict between Ukraine and Russia, the battle for Avdiivka served as a stark reminder that victories in war are not always as clear-cut as they seem. The city had been won, but the human and resource cost had been immense. It was a grim testament to the fact that in war, even victories can carry the sting of defeat. The battle for Avdiivka was a victory for Russia, but it was a victory that came at a great cost. The battle for Avdiivka taught us many lessons about modern warfare. One of the key takeaways was the effectiveness of defensive tactics. The Ukrainian forces, armed with American-made M2 Bradley fighting vehicles and German-made Leopard 2 tanks, managed to inflict significant casualties on the Russian forces. Their strategy of focusing on defense, rather than large-scale counteroffensives, was a testament to their understanding of the terrain and their mastery of defensive warfare. This battle also highlighted the limitations of a war of attrition. The Russian strategy of wearing down the Ukrainian forces by constantly attacking them failed. Instead, it resulted in heavy losses for the Russian forces, far exceeding those of the Ukrainians. The Russian forces found themselves caught in a war they were not winning, their resources and manpower dwindling with each passing day. Another lesson learned from this battle was the importance of resource management. The Ukrainians' ability to make the most of their limited resources was a key factor in their success. They strategically deployed their forces and equipment where they were most needed, ensuring that they could hold their ground even when faced with a larger and better-equipped enemy. The use of unconventional warfare methods, such as drone boats and precision strikes, proved to be highly effective in the battle for the Black Sea. These tactics, which were not traditionally used in warfare, gave the Ukrainians a significant advantage over the Russian forces. Lastly, the battle for Avdiivka underscored the importance of resilience and determination in warfare. Despite the odds stacked against them, the Ukrainian forces managed to hold their ground and fight back against the Russian military. Their resilience in the face of adversity was truly inspiring. In the end, the battle for Avdiivka was a testament to the resilience of the Ukrainian forces and the determination of the Russian military. It was a battle that will be remembered for its ferocity and its high cost. The battle for Avdiivka was a turning point in the conflict between Russia and Ukraine. It was a harsh lesson in the realities of war, a testament to the resilience of the human spirit, and a stark reminder of the high price of victory. Throughout this video, we've journeyed together through the twists and turns of the battle for Avdiivka. We've seen how Russia's strategy of attrition, while costly, eventually led to their victory. Their willingness to sustain heavy losses coupled with superior numbers allowed them to wear down the Ukrainian forces, ultimately leading to their success. But it wasn't just about numbers. The determination and tenacity of the Russian forces played an equally crucial role. Despite the setbacks and the high casualties, they pressed on, undeterred. This unyielding spirit, this refusal to back down, was a significant factor in their triumph. Yet, we must also remember the valiant efforts of the Ukrainian forces. Despite being outnumbered and outgunned, they fought fiercely and resourcefully, using every available tool at their disposal. Their use of unconventional tactics, such as drone boats and precision strikes, proved highly effective and will undoubtedly influence future strategies. The battle for Avdiivka also highlighted the importance of strategic locations and resources. The control of key points can shift the course of a battle, and in this case, it gave Russia the upper hand. This understanding will surely inform the decisions of military leaders in future conflicts. While Russia may have won the battle for Avdiivka, the war is far from over. The harsh realities of this battle serve as a stark reminder of the high cost of warfare. The lessons learned from this battle will undoubtedly shape the strategies of both sides in the conflicts to come.